in the fall of 2004. It was like October and early part of November. I found myself in the deserts of India with my traveling buddy Dave from the Army. And we had rented a car and a driver. And we were spending about 3 months touring India. Everything from the Himalayan mountains and the Ganges up to by Kashmir, up by Pakistan, uh, down by Calcutta. We were all over the place. But at this particular time, we were in an area called Rajasthan, if I'm saying that correctly. And we were in this desert region. We just come back off the desert where we've been riding some camels. And we told our driver we wanted to go to this other town to see some special building that was there. There was something special there my friend Dave wanted to see. And so Dave gets up that early that morning. He brings out all these charts and maps and road things, and he's got his yellow highlighters, and he spends, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes with the driver going over exactly the route that he wants the driver to take because he wants to get to this town before dark and what he wants to see. And the driver goes, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, okay. And so it's all set. We get into the vehicle, we start driving, and finally it dawns on us that after about an hour or so that the driver's not going according to the maps or the charts that Dave had highlighted. He's going wherever he wants to go. And so my buddy's getting upset and starting to yell at him and said, hey, we're paying you money to be our driver. You go where we want to go. And so the driver don't say anything, just keeps driving. So at this point, Dave's going, is this guy hijacking us? Or what's going on here, And so finally he turns around, the driver, and says, I'm taking Bill, Mr. Bill, he called me. I'm taking Mr. Bill to where he needs to go. And that was it. That was the total conversation. And Dave's looking at me like, what? And I'm going, hey, wherever we go, I haven't been, so it doesn't make any difference. It's new. So he was still upset, but we kept on driving. And a couple hours later, we come out of the desert and we come over this hill. And there's this little oasis-like area. And it had a Jain temple, some people, Jan or Jain, however you pronounce that. This old temple that was there, and it was made out of marble. It had these beautiful marble columns. And it had a parking lot with palm trees around it, lots of monkeys running around. And there was two Western buses, and it looked like they had tourists from Europe or America or someplace. And they were all inside the temple exploring it. So we pull in the parking lot, and the driver turns around and says, Mr. Bill, this is where you need to be today. I said, okay. So I get out. My buddy's still not too happy, but it's a neat looking place, and he's got his camera. He's going to get some good shots. And so we leave our shoes at the bottom of the steps, and we walk up all these marble steps, and I got my Indiana Jones hat on and my sandals and my walking stick, and we get to the top of the stairs, and we look in at this beautiful temple with about 200 and some columns, these carved with all kinds of images in the marble columns. It's really it's a work of art. It's a beautiful place. And there's over 100 people inside from the two buses. And we look at this figure, and there's this figure, I think he's wearing like orange or yellow or some colored robe. And I see this monk just kind of running like crisscrossing back and forth through this mob of people, coming at a good rate until he's right in front of me. And he stands there, and he takes his arms and he wraps them around me, and he goes, welcome home, brother. I knew you'd come back. I've been waiting for you for years, decades. I'm going, sure, okay, fine. I don't know what this is about, but yeah, okay, fine, you've been waiting for me. So he takes me by the hand, and Dave follows and takes us to the middle of the temple where there's an altar set up. And it's got candles, and it's got incense, and it's got images and all kinds of things there. And he says, now just kneel down here and do as I do. And so he goes, Om, Om, Shanti, Om, Shanti. So we do Om, 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 Shanti. We don't know what we're doing. So, but it sounds cool. And pretty soon it's quiet. all the tourists kind of gathered around. Next thing you know, we have a circle of Westerners around us that are shooting pictures and movies, and they're listening and everything. And finally, the monk notices this and says, "I'll have your friend go with my fellow monk over here, my brother monk, and he'll take him around the temple and he can shoot pictures." He says, "I need to talk to you in private, and I'll give you a private tour." I said, "Oh, okay, great." So my friend goes off with his camera and he's shooting some great photos of this beautiful place. And we go off into the recesses of this temple away from everybody. And we're walking around, and, you know, here's the good part about it. It's like I always like these movies like Indiana Jones and all these old movies from the old days where they go into some jungle temple or some desert temple, and there's always a secret passageway, a secret door, a secret staircase, secret room. And I always thought that was always cool, but always thought it was imaginary and it was strictly Hollywood. Well, he took me back there and he actually showed me that there are secret doors, secret panels, and even a secret staircase. I mean, he'd push a stone and the stone would open up and there's a secret room, and we go in there and there's candles and stuff burning, and it's a little meditation area, and go someplace else, he opens up and there's steps, stairways going to the roof. So it was really kind of neat. So we were in one of these rooms and we sat down, and I thought, oh, good, okay, I've been traveling all this time for a couple of months looking for that magic moment where I'd find some yogi, guru, master, God realized person that would, answer all my questions, because I'm coming to India to find, the meaning of life. And so now I got this monk, and he looked like he was a senior monk, looked like he was in charge of the place. And we're sitting down and I think, no, I'm gonna get some answers to my questions. Nope. What happens is the same thing that happened to me all over India that first trip. Everywhere I went, I was asked questions. I was like, what? I'm coming there to find out about things and to find out the meaning of life, and there are these monks asking me. So this guy starts off asking me the meaning of life and and purpose and all these different things. And here's a guy that spent his whole life living in an ashram and serving in a temple, and he's asking me this stuff like I'm his teacher. It was really strange. I was a little uncomfortable. And then he asked me about meditation techniques, so I talked about Kriya Yoga and Kundalini energy, and I went through the process on that. And I showed him a simple technique. And then I said, well, I got to get something out of this for me, right? So I go, hey, can you have a blessing, say a blessing for my grandchildren? So at that time I had Spencer and Daylon. I had two grandchildren. Gianni wasn't born yet. And so he takes out of his vest pocket, he takes out this little velvet pouch, and it's filled with gemstones of various kinds. It's got purple and yellow and green and a ruby red and clear like diamonds. It's got all these colors. And he takes it and he puts the little pouch right on top of his head there with all these crystals. And he goes, Om, Om Shanti, Om. And he says a blessing for each of them by their names. And what was really odd, while he was doing this, sending prayers and a blessing out for each of my grandchildren, he was changing the atmosphere. It was like, okay, on a hot desert road, when you look down the road on a hot day, the lines get wavy. When you look at it, the air is wavy, right? Well, inside this temple, when he started to do this chanting, as I'm looking around, it's wavy air. The air is like, just like that illusion that you get on a hot day looking down a road. It was all wavy in each direction around us, 360 degrees. So I thought, wow, this is really odd. This is interesting. I must be hallucinating or something, right? So this goes on. He finishes, and he lights candles for him and everything, and I spend time giving him some more information, and then my friend is summoned, and he opens up this stairwell and he says, I think your friend would enjoy taking pictures on the roof. So we go up on the roof and I meditate and we take pictures up there, and we come back on down and he's waiting for us. And he gives me another hug and tells me that this is my temple. I said, what do you mean this is my temple? He says, no, this is your temple. We've been waiting for you to come back. And I'm going, I got to go. I got a wife. I got a family. I got to go. He says, no, you don't have to leave. You can stay here for a week, a year, a decade. You never have to leave. This is your temple. You're my brother. We've been waiting for you. And I'm going, okay, fine. But I can't. So anyway, so we hugged. And I said, I really got to go. And the guy was getting really teary-eyed. He was really emotional. And he was really dead serious that it was my temple, whatever that meant. And I did not have to leave. And in fact, he wanted me to stay. And I said, no, I have to go. I have another life. And I have to go back to it in America. And so tears in his eyes and everything. He says, I know, brother. And he says, I won't see you again this lifetime, but I will see you again. All right, so we hugged, said goodbye, and I thought, that was kind of an odd little thing. And so we walked back to the car, and as soon as we got back to the car with the driver, my buddy's into this, getting on the driver and taking us there and disobeyed his orders, and he's in charge, and he's the boss, and supposed to go. Anyway, so that was all was on my friend's mind. And so we went to dinner, and he was still talking about that. And I'm trying to tell my friend, I go, hey, look, here's this neat thing that happened. And he was just focused on the driver didn't take us where we were supposed to go. So it goes to show you a couple things. Two people can go to the same destination, but each has a separate journey. We're both in the same vehicle. We're both transported to the same place. But we both had a different, unique experience. We both focused on something different. Now, why was this man saying I was his brother? Why was he embracing me and asking me for advice on how to meditate and what the meaning of life was, which I told him it's love? And why was that my temple? And why could I stay there for as long as I wanted? I didn't hang around to ask. We continued our journey. But those thoughts I ponder once in a while. It was just an odd experience, but one I cherish.